All right. The most important graph for us men, and we're going to present to you, is this. It's the rich, famous quadrant. So here we go. Rich, not rich. Here you have famous, and here you have not famous. The thing is, as men, we need to realize what are the most important things in life. And it will only be one of these four quadrants that you'll have to place yourself in. Now, firstly, what is a no-go zone? If you're not famous and you're not even rich, then that's no-go zone. Plain and simple. You never think about it, right? You're not famous, you're not rich. Like, man, what the fuck are you doing, right? Doesn't help, right? But you might argue that maybe if I'm in this zone where at least I'm famous, so it's like one of those, a lot of the artists, musicians who complain that they don't really make a lot of money, but they're like hella famous. Or some guy, right? He's just famous in school, but like doesn't really have money. I mean, would you really want to be that person, right? You're not rich, but you're fucking famous. I mean, you should have used your fame to at least be rich, right? But guess what? This is also considered a no zone. This is like highly risky, right? Trying to be famous but not rich. Well, what's the point? So, what are the possibilities that you can go to? Guess what? Some might say this is the perfect quadrant where you're rich and you're also famous. However, it comes with a lot of pros, but there are some cons. Cons being your entire privacy is taken away, right? So if you're really famous and you're walking down the street, you can't really like go around the street and just be yourself, right? You gotta run around with security and shit. So cons, right? But at least you're rich, so that helps. But the fame, ultimately a lot of fame doesn't really bring you so much peace because you're trying to hang out with your girl, but guess what? There's paparazzi, right? When the fuck have you ever seen Kanye West ever like enjoying when paparazzi showed up, right? So maybe you just want to be the rich line, right? So the thing is, what other quadrant is remaining? You guessed it. It's being rich, but not that famous. Now remember, guys, whenever I say fame, do not conflate it with respect. When I'm saying someone is not famous, it doesn't mean that they're not respected. Like, heck, there can be famous people who aren't respected, but that's beside the point. So fame and respect is different. When I say you're not famous, it means you're not like going down the street and everyone's running towards you. That's not happening. But what is happening is the people whom you surround yourself with, maybe it's just 5 people or 10 people or whatever the fuck that number is that knows you, they really like you and they really respect you. So you have a good time, right? So that's what I mean by being not famous. But don't think that it conflates to being, not respected. No, they're totally different, right? So imagine you are both rich and at the same time, the people who knows you, they respect you, you're a chill dude, you have a good time with them. That is where you should strive to be. You should always strive to be that rich person who not a lot of people know. Why is this an advantage to you? Because if you really think about it, you'll see that when you're not really famous, you can just do whatever and just not be like in the limelight, in the highlight, in everybody's face and then trying to take attention to you. It's not gonna happen. What instead is gonna happen is you can be at peace. You can do whatever you want. You can actually get that private jet. You can actually just fly and no one would really, track you down on Twitter. and try to find you and hunt you. And there's not going to be news all the time whenever you just, maybe you fuck around a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's going to be news and company valuations going down and shit. Nah, you don't want that shit, right? You want to be rich, being able to do whatever you want and not getting a lot of attention. It's pretty cool. But the ultimate question we really have to ask right now, if we have to take this zoomed out and really ask ourselves, why do we even bother to be rich? We understand, okay, the fame and not famous. Okay, let me ask you this question. Why, it's a pretty dumb question. Why do we want to be rich? But really, if you think about it, or as I should say, you should be rich, So what should you be doing in order to be rich? A lot of things. But the point of this video is to show you that the importance of being rich. Obviously, I've just explained the importance of being not famous, but what is the importance of being rich? I'll just tell you one important thing. Buy time. You see, the thing about being rich is that you actually bought time. And that's why you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's because you bought all the time. Let me explain what that means. What it means in simple terms is that imagine a normal person, right? Let's just say they earn $100,000 every single year. Turns out that from taxes, you'll get about $30,000 running off. So you're left with, let's say, 70 grand. Out of that, you're gonna have rent to pay, right? Let's just say, they usually say it's a third. Let's just say you subtract 20 grand out of it. And so you're left with what, 50K in that year? But guess what? You're gonna have to again spend on your food, on other things like entertainment. So you end up spending 30 grand. What happens is you effectively have 20 grand left at the end of the year if you earn $100,000. This is a normal person. A normal person would work 9 to 5. By the end of the year, if they have a 100K salary, they just have $20,000 left, right? But they're living paycheck to paycheck almost and just save 20 grand. Think about this for a second. Did you know it'll take that same person 50 years in order to see $1 million? Just think about that. If the same person worked 50 years in their life and earned the same amount of money, assuming that they do only earn the same amount of money, which is not a bad estimate, then guess what? You would see $1 million net, meaning after you have, strived for 50 years, every single day you're grinding, you're earning the same amount, you have the same costings of life, you save 20 grand. 50 years later, you're gonna see $1 million. Funny fact, you almost at 65 would be retired. So if I subtract 50, it means you gotta start at the age of 15. But since you can't, you generally start at 25 and you go up to 65. That means you have 40 years. Meaning, we won't even get 50 years. At that rate, I should just say here, you would have 40 years. Heck, you won't even see 1 mil. You'll just see probably 800K. So if you really think about it, imagine this for a second. An average person strives for 40 years, right? And when they're 65 years old, then they barely see $1 million saved, right? But think about it. They had to struggle for 40 years to reach this much amount. 40 years, straight up, every single day grinding, to finally see that effective value. But do you know what rich people do? And this is where it'll all make sense about why I was talking about buying time. It's because the rich does a very simple thing. Rich thinks if a person earns X amount, as they said, in 40 years we mentioned, So that person earns, let's say, I don't know, whatever amount in 40 years. Rich think, what can I do to earn the same amount, X, but maybe in 1 year? Meaning, if this value was $1 million, the rich think, how can they do the same thing in 1 year? And imagine if you can actually do it and you have worked your ass off to figure out an idea, made it into a business or sold it, done some shit. You just took 1 year to get the same amount that the other person took 40 years. So guess what you bought? You bought that person's 39 years worth of life within 1 year. Just think about that for a second. What this means is that by the end of this 1 year, as you as the rich person, this guy is the rich person compared to the poor guy above or the average guy. Think about it. In 1 year, if you earned $1 million and that other person who took 40 years to finally see $1 million, you bought 39 years, which is the difference of 40 and 1. 39 years you bought. That's the power of being rich. It means you just bought time that other people won't be able to do that easily. They would be working their ass off here. Think about it. Think about it. But what about okay. But what about us as like extremely rich people? We're gonna get to this thing, $1 million within a year. And then we bought 39 years. So think about this for a second, what's happening. What's happening is simple. 39 years is bought from your end. Now think about it. If the cost of life this person has to go through, right? Every single time they need to go through a cost. Imagine that that's the same cost you even have to go through in the same time, right? It's not like suddenly your cost of life is gonna go high up. If that person used to eat every single day, you're gonna eat every single day and spend the same amount. So what happens is you can afford to spend every single day of your life. But the catch is, and the beauty is, that person at the top worked 40 years, right? And you just worked 1 year. And for 39 years, you can live off of that money, which the other person at the top would see after 40 years. So you just bought time. And that's exactly why, and that's precisely why, because you have saved time, it means you kind of have bought time in order to do whatever the fuck you want. Just think about it. You now have all the money you need in order to sustain a life for many, many years without you having to do anything. Meaning that upcoming time is for you to do whatever you want. And that's precisely why it gets interesting when I again go back to this quadrant where we started everything, which is being rich is important because you want to buy time. But why do you want to buy time? So that this is why. Because remember, when you're not famous, right? You're not bothered by so many people. You might just have few close friends. So when you bought time and you have few close friends and you have maybe your family, close family, and maybe that's really important to you, you know, and you just have a good time with them. So when you bought more time by being rich in this quadrant, what is happening is you can effectively spend more time that you just bought for years to come with the most important people in your life. You can actually make your life very impactful in several ways. This could actually mean really doing yourself a favor, or doing, you know, helping out someone, or whatever brings you peace. You know, you can afford to do it because you're rich, because you bought time, and now you can afford to do whatever you want. And that's also when the question of how being not famous helps this is because you're not bothered by a lot of people. When you're walking down the streets, you're not being bothered. You can just do whatever you want, right? When you're actually making those big purchases, everyone's just asking, who's this guy? Who just bought this car? They don't really know you. You just move like with mystery, man. And guess what? You being rich allows you to do whatever you want with people who are really special with you because you bought time. You know what I mean? So you can just have a great life by being rich and not famous, right? Because you just bought time by being rich, and you can spend the time right and not be bothered. So you can be at peace, you know? So that's why it's really important that we as men really focus to strive to be in this particular region. That's all for today.